Kirigami, the art of cutting paper, can transform flat, rigid sheets into flexible, expandable metamaterials using carefully placed cuts. Past work explored sheet deployment and inverse problems like shape approximation, mostly using simple units like triangles or quads. However, controlling Kirigami expansion remains challenging due to complex cut deployment relationships. We introduce a framework for designing self-deploying Kirigami sheets from isohedral tilings, featuring diverse topologies, tile shapes, and expansion ratios. We explore how tile geometry and topological connections influence deployment behavior. We validate our designs through comparisons with 3D printed prototypes. Our approach to explore isohedral Kirigami design involves modeling, simulation, and design space exploration. We model each sheet as a 2D assembly of rigid tiles linked by pin joints. To simulate deployment, we study the motion of a tileable unit cell. The expansion trajectory is determined by the zero eigenvalue eigenvector of the constraint Hessian, see section 3 in the paper. Beyond deployment paths, we analyze directional expansion behavior to characterize Kirigami sheets. We capture maximum and minimum expansion ratios during deployment. Besides, for a given deployment state, we visualize expansion in all directions using a polar plot. To explore designs, we ask, how do pin joint placement and tile shape affect deployment behavior? We use hierarchical filtering and regular sampling as detailed in section 4 of the paper. We've organized results into an interactive explorer, which we briefly showcase at the end of the video. We compared our simulation against two approaches, string-based expansion from Liu et al. And nonlinear compliant mode from Duenser et al. Starting from a closed rest state, all three methods initially follow the same deployment trajectory because the design has just one degree of freedom. But the string method stops first. Then the nonlinear compliant mode also ends before full deployment. Only our method successfully captures the complete deployment process. This figure shows the stopping points of each simulation method. The 4 points along the trajectory mark the rest state, the endpoint of the string method, the endpoint of the nonlinear mode, and finally, the full deployment achieved by our simulation. For design space exploration, we focus on how unit cell tiles connect to form valid patterns. We also vary tile shapes to study how that changes directional expansion during deployment. We've organized all valid topologies into a web page-based viewer. Hovering over a point reveals detailed properties on the side panels, numerical data, deployment animation, and strain behavior as the structure deforms. We can identify auxetic and non-auxetic designs from plots of minimum and maximum expansion versus the deployment parameter. Scrolling down, we provide another explorer for parameter variation. After selecting a family and a parameter, you can see how the geometry and expansion behavior change as a single shape parameter varies.